Hydroplaning accidents that occur on dangerous roads in torrential rainstorms are a common occurrence, but investigating the exact causes of these accidents is not as simple as they appear. Take Michael Thierry's vehicle accident that occurred on March 20th, 2011 on Pacific Coast Highway 101, which Caltrans was later found liable for and agreed to pay $5.26 million for the serious injuries Michael suffered as a result of the dangerous road conditions Caltrans failed to repair or warn the public of its extremely dangerous conditions. Caltrans was found liable because they had had actual and constructive notice of the dangerous road conditions going back as far as the 1980s, where they acknowledged the serious flooding problems there and exposed those using the public property to a substantial risk of harm. This case certainly was a catalyst for a positive change propelling government into action, whereby then Governor Brown ordered that immediate funding that had been held up since the 1980s be used to elevate and widen and even straighten the portion of the roadway that would previously flood. In this insider exclusive Justice in America special network TV expose, our news team goes on location in Santa Rosa, California, to meet with Michael Fiumara, founder and owner Fiumara and Milligan Law, to discuss how he and his law firm successfully settled this case for $5.26 million. That settlement was the incentive for Caltrans to build a beautiful, first-rate, newly designed and functional highway, which was not only raised 10 feet to prevent any future dangerous flooding, but the curve was straightened out to improve traffic flow and safety. Michael will also share his unique experience and knowledge not only as a successful trial lawyer, but also as a master-degreed city planner with extensive experience in land use, city planning, hydrology, geography, and government law, which really comes in handy to quickly resolve cases like these for clients. Michael has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best trial lawyers in California. He makes it his dedicated mission to get legitimate and truthful answers to what really happened to his clients in each case. He sees it his mission to fight for people who have been harmed by the willful or negligent actions of others. He has built a substantial reputation by consistently winning cases other law firms have turned down. And his amazing courtroom skills and headline-grabbing success rate continue to provide his clients with the results they need and the results they deserve. This is the Insider Exclusive, live from Santa Rosa, California. It is my great pleasure to introduce Michael Fiumara to the show. Welcome to the show, Michael.
It's a great pleasure to be here.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Tell our audience a little bit about your law firm. What type of law do you practice?
Well, we started this law firm in 1992 in Santa Rosa, California. Started off as law offices of Michael A. Fiumara. Soon I associated with other counsel, and now we have a firm that's referred to as Fiumara and Milligan Law. We practice in the areas of civil rights litigation. We're always on the side of the poor, the downtrodden, and those who are victims or survivors, whether it's sexual abuse or civil rights violations. And that's what we have been since the very beginning. We do criminal defense because we don't believe everybody should be put into a prison and into a rehab. Well, rehab is more the going way that we see things. We want people to be helped. So we do that as far as our mainstay, but we have a family law attorney who is a specialist, and she's incredible. We also have Noreen Evans, who joined our firm to work with us in terms of very specialized appeals cases. And we take on the school districts, which I'm very proud to say that we do with almost a vengeance, because they are brutal to the kids sometimes during suspension and expulsion hearings. That's something we really don't like for them to overreach, especially with education. Once the educational learning is interfered with the suspension or expulsion, especially an expulsion, it's over for some kids. So that's it in a nutshell.
Now, there are all types of law a lawyer can practice.
That's right.
They can work for the big guys. They can work for the major corporations, the Exxon, the Mobiles, the IBMs of the world. But you don't do that.
No, they have a flotilla of attorneys on their side, and I want to even the playing field. So I work for those who need us and who can benefit from our law firm's advocacy and fierceness. I wasn't born in Brooklyn for nothing.
I often have found that people like yourself who are driven, have a mission to help those that are less fortunate than us, had something happen maybe in their past that drives them. Is there something in your history?
Glad you said that, because that's true. I saw how my father, who had a third grade education, had an Italian accent, and how he was treated as an Italian American. I see that with our clients today, the Hispanic clients, the Latino clients. And I speak Spanish as a result because I really believe I can communicate. What I like to do is fight hard for people who have it rough. And it gives me great pleasure. Like you said, I'll never retire. No, I won't. I think I'm going to fight until until I'm in the grave, because I really do believe in justice. That's what drives me, fairness. So I saw how my father was treated, and he was fierce. He took a bone, and I'll have to explain. They said to him, "Mr. Fumara, we're not going to give you your permit." And he's like, "Well, why not?" "Well, we made the decision." It was an arbitrary and capricious decision. This was at a planning board meeting. I have my master's degree in city planning, so there you go. They said to him, "We're not going to do it." And my sister needed a bedroom. He walks in with a bone that he got from a Brooklyn butcher and slammed it on the table and said, "Here's your bone of contention." And the police tried to arrest him, but he said, "I know my First Amendment right." That scared them. Third grade education, he was fierce. Here I am with a degree in master's in city planning from an Ivy League institution, Phi Beta Kappa, Rutgers. And sometimes I'm fearful. No, I'm not. I have my bulldozers, and I also have my steamroller right over their heads. That's how I really feel. That's why I'm very much a lawyer. I'm fighting for the people.
Today, Michael, we are here to talk about one of your other clients, or one of your other big cases that you ended up settling with the state of California, Caltrans, in fact, right?
That's right.
And as I read through this case, I realized that not only are you an experienced trial lawyer, but you also have a master's degree in urban planning, right?
That's right.
And tell our audience a little bit more about your background in that area that enabled you to help settle and expedite this case.
Thank you. Just so you know, I earned my master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. That degree encompassed hydrology studies. It encompassed some of the geography I learned undergraduate at Rutgers. But what was so important about that is because I was able to take what I know about land use and flooding and geography and water flow and drainage and all of that land use related law and turn it against Caltrans, because they tried to say, it's not our fault. The person who caused the accident, Mr. Aldridge, was driving recklessly, which he wasn't. We've disproved them. And they tried to say he's the one that caused the accident. He did hydroplane across the freeway, yes, but Caltrans didn't have a barrier between the two. That didn't take a law degree or even a master's degree in city planning. But what did was the culverts and the piping and all of the infrastructure was so poor because of the soil conditions, and the San Pablo Bay was getting flooded and lifted up in its water table, or the height of the water, so that the silt was actually clogging these pipes, clogging everything up. And bottom line is that everything was flooding the freeway. And so that continuous nuisance is what we were able to show as the cause and the effect of why the roadway flooded, and which caused the hydroplaning. And there was notice, because this has been going on for years and years. Right. And we found that out even with Facebook commentators saying, hey, we've lived here 30 years and this happens every year, at least 5 or 6 times during rainy season. So they knew, and they had no signage in any direction that this road would flood at possible times. So these people at Caltrans knew that, but they thought we were just Santa Rosa lawyers. We'll see where they go with this. But we got various reports, and I did mention this from the Water District, that they didn't want to give us at first, that showed that this freeway was supposed to have been raised years ago in the 1980s, but they had no funding. That didn't take a degree. That took common sense and a lot of fortitude and fighting. We had to uncover these reports. So my tenacity helped. And I know the other counsel that I worked with, we were both on it, and we both worked really hard and long. But I think the clincher was hiring someone like former Judge Pinelli, who was on our Supreme Court, a real conservative. He butted heads. He basically told Caltrans, look, this is wrong. They may get $10 million. So they settled for $5,265,000 altogether. And that odd number is the $15,000 policy was Mr. Aldridge's policy. Had we not fought, our client, who had sustained $500,000 worth of, I'll say, injuries and surgeries and 30 days hospitalization and a pain pump, would have gotten $15,000. What's that? That's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. So we really worked hard against a governmental entity, and it's not easy because you have strict rules about government entities. You can't sue them right away. You have to go through a process.
To get the information, the evidence that you needed, you didn't go to Caltrans and say, give me the history of, what happened, why you didn't fix this, when you were known. So they're going to say they don't have it.
That's exactly right.
How did you actually get that evidence to prove your case?
We're lucky that we hired some very good experts and engineers, and we actually hired the supervisor of the Sonoma Marin Water Agency, who worked there before and is now an expert, and he was able to help us procure this information and get it for...
How does he get it when you can't?
Because government red tape and the way that government has a way of saying that certain things are exempt and they can't give us this or that, and we have to fight real hard getting Public Information Act request done. They know it's slowing us down and it's costing money, so they play games. It's all about, police tapes. When you think about videotapes, they don't want to release them to the public. They use all kinds of excuses and maneuvers, but we get those tapes. We get this evidence. And we got the evidence after a few of our own tricks up our sleeve. So that's what we have to do. But we managed to get evidence that showed that there was a continuous problem and they knew about it. And so they had an affirmative duty to actually remedy the flooding, and they didn't do it. They had an excuse. There was not a lot of money in the budget. Well, the governor, after Governor Brown said, I'm not going to pay an attorney $5 million more, so I'm going to do something. So the whole roadway was raised right after the accident, 10 feet, widened, and straightened out. So I feel like I've done something good. Often attorneys are told that they're just looking for the money. No, we're looking to do something good for the people.
It's kind of interesting because I see all the time, and you do too. When you drive around, you see road improvements, street improvements, but little do you realize there's probably a lawsuit that sparked that to change it, right?
And there was a lawsuit that sparked it, and the governor was not happy that he had to pay attorneys this amount of money.
Let's talk about when is government liable for bad roads, because let me give you an example. We're from Los Angeles, and some of the sidewalks, in the city of Los Angeles, probably every city, are cracked. They're dangerous. I know a friend of mine, a neighbor, that fell, tripped on the sidewalk, landed on his face, ended up in the hospital. Well, the city passed some laws or something like that saying you can't sue them. Oh, and then they said, we'll come out and fix it. There was stages. We'll come out and fix it. But there's so many people that wanted their sidewalks and their streets fixed. All of a sudden, they came out with a new policy. If you pay half, we'll come out and pay the other half and fix it, okay? Now they won't do it at all. So my question is, when is government liable for bad road conditions?
If there is a condition that's a dangerous condition that is the result of something that the government entity does or does not do, so it's omission versus something they affirmatively do to make it worse, then this liability affixes to the problem, meaning that they have to do something. They have notice, especially if there's injuries from people getting hurt over a course of time. If it happens, someone smashes a sidewalk and it's broken, and 10 minutes later somebody falls, the city's not going to be liable for that so much as if it's been a condition that's languished there for weeks or a month, and especially if somebody has gotten hurt and there's a record of it or notice, actual constructive notice. And it's reasonably foreseeable notice as well. So it depends on the case. So it's case by case. But in this case, in the theory case in the Sonoma County / Marin County on the boundary line case, They had notice for many, many years. But what they tried to also do is blame the poor property owners who lived adjacent to the flooding. Yeah, they're responsible. Let's blame someone else. Let's point the finger. And that's what government loves to do. It's like our politicians. Let's keep pointing at each other. We care about the people who need compensation for something caused by the government's actions or inactions.
You know, oftentimes there are situations where the government contracts out to private companies to build things. And I'll give you an example. I covered the collapse of the 35W bridge in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I ran across a phrase which I was unfamiliar with at the time years ago, which was called the law of repose. And the law of repose is the city will say to a contractor, build this. And after 10 years, and I think this was the case in Minnesota, after 10 years, anything that happens to the bridge is not your fault. You know, you walk free. But let's talk about this other government, when we get back to when is the government liable for bad road conditions. Let's say a private contractor built a bridge, built a dike, built something, right? And that time period has expired when that private contractor is responsible for remedying it. What about the government? Do they have this responsibility to keep it up, to maintain it so that it's safe?
Well, I would say absolutely they do, because the government, according to the contractor, not the contract, forget any of that. We're supposed to have a product or a bridge or infrastructure that's supposed to withstand certain standards. And of course, they change over time, earthquake standards, et cetera. Yeah. However, they need to continue to maintain, let's say it's a bridge, by painting the bridge, by looking at the cables. It's called fair inspection. You look at the cables and make sure that they're not rusting or cracking like the Bay Bridge. Look at that mess. After $7 or $8 billion, they realized that the Chinese imported steel was cracking, and it was good that somebody was doing the maintenance and inspection. So they have a duty to do the maintenance and inspection. That's government. They need to do that, and they have a duty.
You know, there's a lot of lawyers, you see them on TV. They say, bring in your case. We understand. You've been injured. We do personal injuries. But a lot of these cases require somebody with an expertise. That's why I wanted to bring up the fact that you have a master's degree in urban planning, city planning, the whole 9 yards. If somebody is injured, yes, and they're injured in an accident, which they believe that, you know, it was a defective road or some sort of repair that needed to be made that wasn't made, what should they look for in a law firm like yours to handle their case?
They should look for experience, dedication, whether the firm has the wherewithal to go forward. We had to put $190,000 of our own money into the theory case to get $5 million, so we hired great experts. You want a law firm that has those relationships with the outside experts. You also want a law firm that understands the court system and the litigation process and all of the deadlines. For instance, if we didn't file a tort claim act right away within the 6-month statute, we would have lost that case. So we really want an attorney who's very familiar with helping people through the process, and then keeping the clients and those who have survived major injuries informed, and help them with their liens on their medical bills so that they get more money in their pocket. We really want that. We want them to get the maximum amount of money, and that's how we operate at Fumara and Milligan Law. We're there for the clients.
Speaking of the bills that they incur, you know, injuries, and they have these huge, monumental medical bills, I read that you are able to negotiate the bills downward. Why would a hospital, if they know somebody's getting $5 million, why would they lower the amount of money that's owed?
They have a duty to they're injured, but they also realize without us, without attorneys like us, they wouldn't have gotten any of this reimbursement at all. They get something from
You bring that up with them?
Of course. And we also tell them we're reducing our percentage. We're not getting 33 1/3%, we're getting only 25%. Why don't you do the same? And so they match it. So our clients end up with a lot more money in their pockets. They tell others. So that's the way business is supposed to work, not soliciting or ambulance chasing. It's word by word or community minded. And that's how we are. We are community minded. We are here in Sonoma County and Marin County and serve the whole North Bay. So that's how we have been as successful as we have.
You often hear lay people say, you can't sue City Hall. Okay, government immunity. I see you laughing.
My father, with a grade education, was able to do it. I certainly can do it, and I'm not afraid of government.
How do you get past that? How do you get past that? Because they were going to bring that up. You can't sue us. We're sovereign immunity.
I say to them, watch me.
It's good. It's good. Well, congratulations on this case. Great victory and for your client. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.